Why is it that some people can hurt you, but the moment that you bring it up, they act like you started a whole war? Like, you didn't come with a conversation. You came with a grenade. And then suddenly, you're not the person who got hurt, you're the problem. Let's slow that down for a second.
I'm not cold, I choose tears, and peace don't need permission from me.
What you're witnessing in that moment is not confusion, it's deflection with a costume on. A grown person, a healthy person, can hear discomfort without turning it into a battlefield. They might not like what you're saying, they might need a second to process it, but they don't immediately grab armor like you just declared combat. They don't flip the script and make you defend your feelings. That's the difference. Because when somebody gets angry before they get curious, that's not passion. That's emotional immaturity doing push-ups in real time. That's someone who hasn't learned how to sit with accountability without feeling attacked. And let's talk about that word for a second, accountability. To a healed person, accountability feels like growth. To an unhealed person, it feels like exposure. Like a spotlight got turned on in a room that they were comfortable keeping dark. So what do? They don't sit in it. They don't lean in. They don't say, help me understand what you felt. No. They flip the whole table. Now you're doing too much. Now you're bringing up old stuff. Now you're starting problems. Whole time, you're just trying to have a conversation about something that affected you. But in their world, your truth feels like a threat to their image. So they react. And reaction is loud. Reaction is defensive. Reaction is chaotic. It sounds like raised voices, twisted words, and conversations that somehow end up being about you. Now you're explaining your tone. Now you're defending your delivery. Now you're apologizing for even bringing it up in the first place. And the original issue, lost in the smoke like it never existed. That's not a conversation, people. That's a diversion tactic with a good lighting. And if you're not careful, you'll start adjusting yourself to avoid that reaction. You'll think, maybe I should say it softer. Maybe I should wait for the right moment. Maybe it's not even worth bringing up in the first place. And just like that, your voice starts shrinking. Not because you don't have something to say, but because you've been trained that speaking up comes with consequences. Now, peace only exists when you're quiet. And that kind of peace, that ain't no peace. That's silence dressed up as stability. Because real people can handle truth. Real connection can hold discomfort without collapsing. But control needs quiet. Control needs you to second guess yourself. Control needs you to keep things smooth, even if smooth means suppressing yourself. So when every simple conversation turns into smoke, chaos, or them playing the victim, you're not dealing with a partner. You're dealing with somebody who is committed to misunderstanding you. And that's a dangerous dynamic. Because you can explain something 100 different ways, but if someone is invested in not hearing you, not listening to you, they won't. You can speak in facts and feelings and calm tones and soft language, and they will still find a way to twist it into something else. Because the goal was never understanding. The goal was avoidance. Avoiding responsibility, avoiding discomfort, avoiding the moment where they'd have to look at themselves and listen. You're not responsible for babysitting someone else's unhealed behavior. You're not their emotional translator. You're not their patience reserve. You're not their personal regulator. That's work they have to choose. And if they're not choosing it, you are going to feel it. And every conversation that goes left, and every moment that gets flipped on you, and every time you walk away thinking, how did that even turn into that? That's confusion. That's not because you're unclear. It's because the dynamic is distorted. And the longer you stay in that, the more normal it starts to feel. You start bracing for arguments before you even speak. You start rehearsing conversations in your head just to avoid saying the wrong thing. You start shrinking your truth to keep the peace. And before you know it, arguments become the only language the relationship speaks. Not understanding, not growth, not connection. Just tension, defense, and noise. And here's the part that matters the most. You don't have to stay in that. You don't have to keep explaining yourself to somebody who is dedicated to not understanding you. You don't have to keep proving your intentions to someone who already decided you're the problem. And you definitely don't have to stay silent just to keep things from exploding. Because if peace only exists when you don't speak up, that is not a relationship. That's a controlled environment. And you weren't built to live like that. You were built to be heard, to be understood, to be able to say, that hurt me, without it turning into a whole freaking war zone. So pay attention to the pattern. Not just what they say, but how they respond when you're honest. That reaction, that tells you everything. And sometimes the most powerful thing you can do is stop trying to be understood by somebody who is committed to misunderstanding you. And start choosing environments where your voice doesn't have to fight just to exist. My name is HoneyB, and I do this on purpose. Break the cycle. The time is now.